Everyone thinks AI avatars are just for content creation, but what if they could also do your outreach and book new leads into your calendar every week? So I spent 6 hours designing an AI avatar machine that cranks out personalized AI video outreach for real estate leads so that you can copy and paste it in 15 minutes. I'm going to show you exactly how I did it and how it can easily put you a decade ahead of every agency running generic automated outreach. And to prove this isn't just hype, SMS campaigns have a 98% open rate and their conversions are 5 times better than email. Imagine having an AI video avatar that sends tens or even hundreds of custom video messages every day, giving out lead magnets, reactivating old leads, and helping you scale in a way that other companies can't keep up with. And if you're new here, I'm Mike. I've been in the AI game for 2 years, and now I help businesses and real estate pros avoid the hype and use AI to scale their businesses and make more money. So if you want to see how you can use this AI video outreach machine to start making outreach fun, then stick around for the next 15 minutes and I'll show you why AI avatars can be way more than just content creators. So let's get straight into it. Alright, so I'm going to show you everything that I have going on here behind the scenes of this AI avatar outreach system. And don't worry, if what you see on screen right now looks like a lot to you, I'm actually going to give this entire thing away to you for free if you join my free community. So you can literally copy and paste everything I have here and take advantage of all the hard work I've done to get this set up. But since I'm sure you guys are wondering how this whole thing works, let's jump straight into a demo, and then afterwards we could dive back in and I could tell you how I built this whole thing. So this workflow that you see on screen connects to this Airtable database with all of this client information in it. Every time it runs, it pulls a set number of clients from this database, uses Veo 3 and GPT-5 to make a personalized video avatar based off the image of a person that I gave it. And then once the whole thing is done, everybody on that list will receive a text message like this that has a personalized greeting in it and a link to the actual AI avatar video so they could click on it and watch it. And here's a couple of examples of what these AI video avatars actually look like from the point of view of a lead who would actually be receiving this.
John, it's Kaylee. Enjoying your Greenwood home? We're offering free 2026 wealth strategy sessions. Pros, reply if you want in. Hey Chris, it's Kaylee. So how's the Oak Street place? We'd love to have you at our free 2026 strategy session. Let me know.
So that's essentially what we're looking at in terms of what the output of the system would be. Now with this whole system running in production, you could literally send tens or even hundreds of videos like this to every single lead in your base and take advantage of those crazy high SMS conversion rates that I talked about back in the intro. So this was a pretty tight demo. There's not too much to actually go over here in terms of the function. So let's jump straight into the actual build here so I could show you guys what's really going on behind the scenes and tell you everything that you would have to do if you wanted to get this up and running for yourself. So before we get into anything here, let's talk about how we actually create these AI avatars. These can either be an avatar of you yourself, they can be a fictional character that you generate with AI like I did here, or they can even be a team member or somebody that you would want to represent your brand. Either way, there are several platforms that actually allow you to make good quality AI avatars. And for this video, I'm using a combination of Nano Banana and Veo 3.1, but you could also play around with Sora or even HeyGen to actually create these for you. But in this case, we're trying to keep things as simple and lean as possible, so we're going to be using Veo as our base here. If you're curious about getting ahead with AI but don't know where to start, I'm putting together a private community just for you. Inside, you'll find exclusive courses, Q&As with me, a library of AI agents you can use today, and a growing collection of other resources that give you everything you need to start scaling your business and start saving 5 or more hours every single week with AI within about 90 days. If that sounds interesting, go ahead and hit my first link down below to get access completely for free. Or if you're a business owner or real estate pro and you're curious about adopting AI and ironing out your AI strategy without the headache, then hit link number 2 to book a one-on-one call with me and my team. Anyways, let's get straight back into the video. And the good thing about using Veo is how easy it is to actually create your avatars. So what you're looking at on screen right here, I'll actually include this in my community along with my template so you guys can go ahead and pick both of these up for free if you want. But I'm going to be using this image as my base for my AI avatar, and this is going to be somebody who's going to be representing our fictional real estate agency here. And a quick tip, if you're using a picture of yourself, make sure you use a high quality image with a nice background, make sure you're wearing nice clothes, and just make sure that the image itself is something that you'd be happy with representing your company. And before I actually get into the build and unpack this for you guys, there's a little disclaimer I just wanted to include at the beginning of this video. So if you are going to use this system for yourself, make sure that you're not sending any unsolicited SMS messages to people if you don't have any prior contact with them. In most parts of the world, it's illegal to do this, and at the end of the day, it's just not worth the risk. So if you are going to use a system like this, some of the leads that you can get away with sending this to, and the ones that tend to have the highest conversion rates, are past clients, leads who dropped off and you just lost contact with, non-responders, or people who you had contact with before but just sort of ghosted you over time, opt-in leads from ads or pay-per-click campaigns, and so on. The whole idea here is to avoid anything unsolicited and only focus on things where you know you have consent or you have prior history. If you check both of those boxes, then you should be perfectly fine to continue using the system. Now I have 2 triggers actually set up for this system. One is our actual trigger, which is going to be our schedule, and the second is going to be our test trigger, which allows us to just execute the workflow whenever we would want to. Now for our schedule trigger, I have this to run every single day at 11 a.m. But of course you can have this set to run at every other day. Of course you could change the time and just customize this depending on how many leads you have and what sort of campaigns you're running here. Alright, now let's take an actual look at our workflow here. So since the AI avatar that we're going to be creating is based off of that image that I showed you in the intro, we're going to have to fetch that image from our Google Drive here where I've uploaded it, and this is what it's going to look like. So essentially I've found the file in my drive and I'm just getting this step to pull it in for us so we can pass it along the workflow and actually use it as a component to pass into our AI video request. Next up, we're going to have to transfer that image into a base64 string, which is essentially a format that's going to allow us to pass it into Veo 3 so that we can use it as our reference image for our AI avatar. And here's essentially what your output's going to look like. Now once we have that taken care of, we can actually jump into our CRM and pull some of this client data so we can start personalizing our conversations. Now if you remember back to our demo, every aspect of that was personalized, from the video itself all the way down to the SMS message we sent. And now for this test case, I'm actually using Airtable as my CRM. And if we take a look at what records I have available for us to pull from, this is going to be a sample of what we're working with. So I have a decent amount of data here for every lead that I'm working with, but the most important part is going to be our lead history right here. So if we open up every single one of these categories, we'll be able to see some of the information on what our agency has done for each of these clients in the past. And this is going to be a key bit of information when it comes to personalizing our scripts and making sure that each of these conversations sound as authentic as possible. And this little preview of information that you see on the right hand side is a sample of what we actually have access to here. And because your CRM likely has hundreds or even thousands of names in it, we're going to have to limit how many we're actually pulling at a time. And just for this demo case, I'm limiting it to 5 items that we're extracting here. But if you're going to use this in production, as a side note, you'll probably want to come in here and alter the way that this part of the workflow is set up. So if you move forward here, you'd probably want to have some system that's tracking all of your outreach attempts, or maybe even something that allows you to segment your audience based off of different variables and information you have on them. But since that's a little bit beyond the scope of this video, we're going to be focusing on the AI avatar aspects of this. So for this use case, our limiting step is going to be enough for us to get the job done. Now next up, because we're going to be using Twilio to actually send these text messages, we're going to need to reformat our numbers into this format that you see on the right hand side here. So what we're looking at is going to be the country code plus the entire number without any spaces. And if you're wondering, yes, you can use a code block to actually handle this step for you, but just for simplicity's sake, we can actually use our little GPT model here to format this for us so we can keep everything as simple and beginner friendly here as possible. And as for our prompt, we're just using something extremely simple, which just involves us passing in our number variable and instructing the AI to format it according to our desired outcome. Now next up is where things start to get interesting, because this is where our entire AI avatar creation loop is going to come into action. So all of this is going to be ran by this loop over node. And all that this is doing is essentially telling our workflow to loop over the following actions that are contained within this flow right here. And when we're done, we'll pass it off to this Twilio node just to notify us on the back end that the entire process is complete. But for now, let's take a look at our actual loop that's going to be creating our AI avatars and handling a lot of this AI outreach system. So because we're using Veo 3 to create our videos for us, of course, we're going to need some sort of script to follow based off of this personalization data that we could pull out of our CRM. So here's how we're going to accomplish that. I have a GPT step in here to actually handle our script writing. And let me just take you through our prompt here so that you can see exactly what's going on behind the scenes. And don't worry, if you want to copy everything that I have here, then it'll all be available for you in my template in my free community. So hit link number 1 down below if you're interested in that. But anyways, this is a pretty typical prompt that I have broken down into a few different categories. But essentially all that's going on here is that I'm prompting this step to be our friendly, charismatic client relations specialist with the Sunset Group, which is our agency in this case. I'm instructing it that its job is to complete the first step in a 2-part process, which is to generate our short check-in video script, which will be added to our SMS outreach campaign with the goal of ultimately building connections, earning repeat business, and incentivizing referrals. Now our task is to actually use a scripted example that I've included below along with the included variables that I've dropped in here. And since our goal here is to create a more warm, casual, and relatable check-in style of video outreach here, I've given the AI system a few rules to follow just so that it can understand the context and the task that it's working on a little bit more clearly. So number 1 is that our outreach persona is actually Kaylee, so we're going to be keeping this element of it intact across every script. Number 2 is our lead magnet CTA is going to be our free 2026 wealth strategy session. And since this is a fixed variable, likewise, we're going to make sure we deliver this to every lead here. Number 3 is that each video that we're sending is capped at 7 to 8 seconds just because of how Veo tends to be set up. So we're keeping the scripts as lean as possible. which means that we're trying to adhere to the example that I've included below, but we can also add some minor variety just to prevent things from getting too copy and paste and too monotonous. And the final component of our task is that I've imported both of the variables that we're using to personalize our scripts here. Number one is going to be the name of each lead that I'm pulling in from our contact base, and number two is going to be that past client history. Lastly, I have an example for the agent to base all of its script writing on. So I have a sample input here of both a name and a past history, as well as an output for what the final result should look like for the scripts that we're going to be handing off to Veo. As you can see, everything is super lean here. We're greeting them, adding a bit of personalization, and then hitting them with the lead magnet. And obviously, if you're using this for yourself, you could feel free to hop in and customize any elements that we're working with here. All right, next step is where we're actually going to be connecting into Veo 3 to generate our AI avatars. I have this running via an HTTP request, and let me break down what's going on under the hood here. So as you know, Veo 3 is provided by Google, but we're not going to be going directly through Google to access the API. In order to accomplish this, I'm actually using a service called Kai AI, and it's actually cheaper than running straight through Google for a lot of these API requests. Now within our actual HTTP request here, if you download my template, everything is going to be completely set up for you. All you're going to have to do is jump in here and set up your header auth for Kai AI, which means dropping in your API key. And the way that you're going to do that is if you have an account on Kai, simply jump over to their docs, hit the green market button in the upper right, and that'll take you to this page right here. Now on the left hand side, you'll be able to come over to API keys, and then you'll be able to generate yourself a brand new API key, which you'll be able to bring back into N8N and then drop in under your header auth. Now here's where things get a bit more interesting, is when you scroll all the way down here, I actually have a section of JSON that's pulling in a couple of variables to hand off to Veo. So variable number one that we're using is going to be our script that the GPT just generated for us. Now these are grayed out just because I haven't executed a few nodes in the workflow, but regardless, essentially what's going on here is I have a fixed prompt, and the only variable aspect of it is going to be our script, which is going to be instructing Veo as to what this avatar is going to be saying for each of the videos we produce. So assuming you're using the same avatar and the same prompt, all you have to do is just switch out your script and you should be good to go. Next up, under image URLs, this is going to be our reference image that's going to allow us to create our entire video. Now this variable here is going to be from our move to base 64 node that I took you guys through a moment ago. And the reason we had to do this conversion is so that we could actually pass this into Veo in a format that it can actually read. And finally, make sure your generation type is reference to video, because this is what's going to allow us to create a video from this reference image here. And next up, what we're going to do is we're going to wait 30 seconds because these videos tend to take a minute or two to actually generate. So we're going to try to create that buffer in there. Then once we've waited, we're going to jump back into Kai AI and check our video status. Now this is another HTTP request that I have set up, and everything in here should be completely ready to go for you as well. All you have to do is drop in your Kai AI header auth and you should be off to the races from there. But what this is doing is it's pulling our video status from Kai to show us whether or not our video is done creating and what point in the pipeline it's actually at. So this little loop that I have going on here is going to be checking if that video status is success or not. All we're doing is dropping in that last variable from our output and checking if it is or is not success. If it isn't, we're going to be waiting another 30 seconds, checking our video status again with that HTTP, and then determining whether or not that video is done. So we could run through this loop as many times as we need to pull our AI video, and we won't have to worry about having a human jumping in here to check in on it for us. Now once this loop is complete and we've actually gotten a successfully completed video, we're going to jump over into our drive so we can actually upload that and turn it into a shareable link that we can send as a text message. Step number one is going to be to take that video and actually upload it as a new file within our Google Drive. And this is simply what we're doing with this node right here. You could save it to whatever folder you want, or you can just save it within your drive as its own file. Next up, we're going to want to share that file, which means we're going to retrieve it by the same name that we just created. And because this drive step unfortunately doesn't allow us to output a shareable link, we have to actually set that variable with a set field. And essentially what's going on here is we're converting that file name into a link that we can actually share via SMS. And by the way, if you have any issues getting this up and running, you can simply pass this variable into ChatGPT along with the variable that your file ID happens to be. And if you tell it what you're trying to accomplish, it should be able to give you the correct variable if this one right here happens to not work for you. Now, since we are sending text messages after all, we need to actually generate some copy to send off to everyone to go along with our video post. And once again, we have our GPT-5 copywriting step here for our SMS content drafter. And this prompt is going to be very similar to the prompt that I just took you through for our AI script writer a moment ago. The only differences here is that we're changing out our different variables to clarify that instead of a script, we're actually writing the SMS. However, because our content and our approach is going to be pretty much the same, I've only had to make a couple minor changes in order to get this to function. One of those changes is, in addition to our name and our past client history, I'm also passing in the AI script that we just wrote from our other AI step. This should give us a really strong bit of context to create a more engaging and more authentic text message that people are more likely to actually read. And once again, we've included our example here along with an output that takes into account some of the personalization plus the lead magnet and our general approach here in terms of our SMS copywriting strategy. And again, we're trying to keep things as brief as possible here so we can deliver as much value as possible so people actually stick around and read our messages and actually opt in for our lead magnets. Now our final step is to pass all of this information into our Twilio node to send the final SMS. So once you've connected your Twilio account, you're going to simply add in the number that you're sending from. You're going to import the converted number from our AI step here so we can have it in the proper format with no spaces in here. And finally, for the body of our message, we're going to be dropping in the result from our previous AI step, which is going to be our completely written SMS. And to deliver our video, I'm going to be including a PS statement here that includes the link to our Google Drive. Whenever somebody receives the SMS message, all they have to do is click on this little message here and they'll be able to see our AI avatar. And of course, once all of this is done, we'll loop back to the beginning and we'll iterate on this for as many leads as we have in our system, sending each of them their personalized AI avatar videos, plus their personalized text messages. Finally, to wrap this workflow up, we have our second Twilio step that's going to be sending you or somebody on your team a text message just to let you know that the entire process is finished here and all of your AI video outreach has been done for today. And this will be essentially the same setup as our other Twilio step. You'll connect your account, put in your from number, and simply let it know which number you're going to be sending the text message to, which also has to be in that international format, just as a side tip. But that's essentially all I wanted to cover in this video with you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you're able to get some value out of this, considering how we can actually use AI avatars for purposes beyond content creation to help us generate more leads, get more bookings, and ultimately make more money with good quality business practices that don't require us to hire a whole bunch of new employees. Now, if you're interested in downloading this exact template here, along with my sample AI avatar image, just to try it out and play around with it yourself, you can hit link number 1 down below to join my free community and actually pick those up. Or if you're actually interested in building a system like this, or even one that's more robust for your business, then be sure to hit link number 2 down below to book a one-on-one session with my team and I, so we can discuss what AI can actually do for your business on a practical level. So if you made it all the way to the end, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I would also appreciate it if you'd consider dropping a like and a subscribe down below just to let me know that you enjoyed this one. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have fun with this one. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you all in the next one.